Hi, I'm Johnny from ultimatepapermache.com. Now, what I want to do today is I want to make something that would make a really nice present. I want it to be really easy. I want it to be really fast. I also don't want to go to the store and buy absolutely anything. So we're going to use paper strips and paste, the old traditional paper mache. I don't use it very often. I usually use my paper mache clay recipe or the air dry clay recipe, but this time I'm going for something really, really simple. What I'm going to make is a goose that's hollow on the inside, so we can use it for pens or pencils. It's something that would look really cool on someone's desk. I think it would make just a really nice present. I'm going to use this plastic bag for the hollow part. It's got some dry cat food in here right now, but you can put anything in there. It's going to be completely covered with plastic, so you just go ahead and pour it back wherever you got it from when this project is all done. This is going to be the hole, and for the actual support, we're going to use crumpled aluminum foil. When you squish it down really tight, it's almost as strong as solid metal. So the paper mache won't have to hold anything up. The foil is going to do all the work for us. I've got my hot glue gun warming up here, and now I need to make this, the hole on the inside of our goose a little more rounded and goose shaped. So I'm going to go ahead and use some tape. That looks like the inside of the goose, I think. I think we've got it. Now what we need to do is put one piece of aluminum foil just as a kind of a barrier to keep the hot glue gun from actually melting my plastic, because I do want to give that cat food back to the cat. And I'm going to flatten it down so we have a nice solid flat base. Glue on here. And now, I should have thought of this sooner, I'm going to put down some more aluminum foil so I don't glue everything to my table. Better late than never. Yep. There we go. This is only about 1/8 of an inch thick, so it needs to be a little stronger than that. So just double it over. Put it down like this. Make sure all the layers stick together. Put that down here. Keep checking to make sure it's flat on the bottom. That was better. Squishing it along the short edge makes a much nice thick piece instead of squishing it on the long edge, which is what I did before. My foot is getting lost under there, but it's going to show back up again as soon as I get all of the foil burnished, so I'm not going to worry about it right now. It's coming. I just want to make sure though that I don't get this new piece of foil totally covering the edges of my foot, or then it will totally get lost. We're going to give him a tail. Very, very simple, kind of a pointy tail. We're going to be doing a lot of burnishing before this is done, because we want it nice and smooth, and right now it's just the basics of our shape. Doesn't have to be perfect yet, but we do want it to get perfect sooner or later. I'm thicken it up just a bit here on his chest. I need to redraw my beak because this didn't work. How am I going to stick it on there? That's silly. Okay, we live and learn, right? She needs some cheeks. I want just a little bit of foil coming down from the forehead onto the beak. That'll support it, and also will make it look a little bit more realistic. And don't want much, so. Now I'm going to check for any little pieces that might be sticking up before I start burnishing it. Aluminum foil is not an intuitive material to be sculpting with, but it does work if you have the patience for it. And it makes a really, really strong form. Right now I'm just filling in a little place, like especially on that neck, that needs to be reinforced, or maybe it was just a little bit too thin. Like I've got a spot right here, obviously it doesn't seem to work. Just using up my scraps here. Okay, we've got kind of the basic of our goose. She doesn't have her wings yet. We're not going to do that quite yet. We want to get the form as nice and flattened out as we can get it before we actually start putting those wings on. So now we get to start burnishing it. I spent about 15 minutes flattening everything down, and now I can kind of get a better feel for any place that might need some more aluminum foil. I need a little bit more aluminum foil here to make this head look more realistic. I've got some spots, like right here around this chest area, that needs to be filled in. Any bump or dip in the aluminum foil is going to show up after you put your paper mache on there. So we need to get the aluminum foil on there and get it as smooth as possible before any of the paper mache goes on at all. When I was burnishing it, I found a couple of spots where the glue is a little bit too heavy and I'm not able to squish it down. So like right here underneath her bill, that's not going to work. So I'm just going to use the hot part, the side of my hot glue gun, to melt it again and flatten it out. I drew this before I had a goose to test it against, so I got to make sure that it's the right size and I like it. So let's see. I like that better. Okay, make another one. Now, I'm going to make sure that they're opposite each other, and I'm going to add just enough tinfoil to round things out, but not much more. Now I need to bend it just a little bit. Not looking bad. Looking very waterfowl-like. Okay, now it's time to make her hollow because we have to have paper mache on the inside and outside of this lady. So I'm going to put this away. Don't want to cut into the bag or I'm going to end up with cat food all over my studio. Okay, got enough open now. I'm going to go take it in the other room, right over the cat bowl, and cut that open and let it out. I emptied out the cat food, and I took the bag out of there. It's nice and solid. I can already feel that she's really going to hold up well. There was about 1/4 of an inch of that crumpled foil all the way around that hollow section of this lady, so it's going to work out really good. Just need to take off the extra. Okay, now for the fun part. Okay, I got my paste, got my paper, I've got a couple of wooden tools here just to help me burnish the paper on there so that it stays nice and flat. When I put my first piece on there, it didn't want to stick. So I went back to the kitchen and I added some more paste. So now it's a lot thicker than most people would use for normal paper mache projects. And I'm going to go ahead and put my 2 layers on at the same time. I'm just going to have to go really slow and just keep working at it really just one little piece at a time until everything is covered. There's a lot of, even though this is a really simple project, there's a lot of little places that are difficult to work right around the feet, this area where the wing comes in. It's all just a little bit tricky when you're using paper strips and paste. If you were using the air dried clay recipe on my website, it would go a lot easier, I think. But you would have to go to the store and buy stuff if you don't already have them. So I'm going to do it this way. Okay, now everything except for the inside has been covered and it's dry enough to hold on to. Not dry, but dry enough so that there's no wet stuff on the outside and I can hang on. Just burnishing it a little. Get everything nice and flat. So now the inside is done and I'm going to go put him back right over the heat register. It's cold outside, we've got the furnace running. The air is moving right over that register and it just pulls all the water out. This is drying really fast. So I'm going to do that for maybe 2 or 3 hours. And I think it's actually going to be dry enough to paint today, which is pretty cool. My goose is dried now. It went really fast because I put it over that heating vent. And it was only 2 layers at most. Some places I think maybe I only got 1. So it went really quickly. It's nice and hard because of that aluminum foil underneath. It's not, porcelain smooth. That's never going to happen with paper strips and paste. But I'm going to really quickly just hit it with some fine sandpaper just to knock off some of the little points. Most of those are actually from the really heavy paste that I was using. And I figured out that paste worked better because when it had too much water, it was too slick and it was just sliding off. I think that's why the heavy paste worked on the aluminum foil when the thinner paste didn't. That's my theory anyway. So I'm just going to do this real quick. You have to be real careful when you're sanding if you only have 1 or 2 layers on there because you can go through that paper really, really easy. But I'm being real careful with it. just getting the little points. There weren't very many because I burnished it when it was just almost dry, as you saw me do, and that did really make a difference. One of the biggest reasons I'm just picking those points off is that I want it to feel good when I pick it off. And now it's time to paint her, and I just ran downstairs where I'm keeping my acrylic paint, and I found out that my tube of white paint has just a little teensy bit of it in the bottom, and it's hard as a rock. The white paint is always the first to go. So I'm going to use this latex paint. It's just house paint, and it works just fine. Dan Reeder uses it all the time, so if he can use it, so can we. Now we'll just give her a little bit of color. My goose did come out quite a bit rougher than I had really wanted her to, but that's because I was in too much of a hurry, and I didn't want to mix up any gesso because I thought there might be a lot of you folks who don't have any drywall joint compound and Elmer's glue sitting around the house, and I wanted to do one project that didn't need anybody to buy a whole bunch of stuff for it. I also think that the next time I wouldn't put the feet on. They're not that, I just don't like them all that much. I think I would leave those off next time. Now for the very last thing, I'm going to give her a coat of acrylic varnish. I happen to really like this, but if you want yours to look shiny, then you'd want to get a gloss varnish. I didn't paint the inside. I think I'll actually leave it that way. So there we have our paper mache goose. I rushed through it really fast, but I'm still happy with it. I think she turned out really cute. She's still a little bit wet, but I really had to hurry because the sun is almost gone. I'm not even sure if I've got enough light for this video. So tell me what you think. If you make one of these, let me know. I have a suspicion that some of you are going to make some in other kinds of animals than this one, and I would love to see them. So come show them off at ultimatepapermache.com. I'll see you there.